Are we on the internet? Are we live? Oh, it looks like we're live. All right, we are live. Hi, everybody. This is John Bolton. Before the show begins today, I just wanted to give a shout out to some of the California Democrats who I feel are doing A-OK on a couple things. First of all, Gavin Newsom came out against ranked choice voting, saying it would be way too complicated, and he's absolutely right. Ranked choice voting is way too complicated for California voters. People fought hard for their right to vote, and ranked choice voting, that just overcomplicates things. I mean, look at our system. Sure, we have polling places that'll switch randomly. People will be taken off the polls and then given a provisional ballot that we all know is never going to be counted. We have super delegates, the Electoral College. You pretty much have to solve a riddle to find out when a local election's happening. So our system is very, very simple and easy and voter friendly. Oh, and sometimes in California, primaries are open unless we decide they're not. So it's a very, very easy system is my point. It's very simple. Let's not overcomplicate it by having ranked choice voting where people have to rank their candidates in order of preference. That will be way too complicated. Look at Lucy. Even she's like, whoa, yeah, way too complicated. Don't do that. Good job on that, Gavin Newsom. The other shout out I want to give is to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has a plan to help the poor people who have kids in school. Keep those kids in school until 6 p.m. That's right, increasing the school day until 6 p.m. That is a nice, vicious, special brand of evil, and I love it, Kamala Harris. I really, really do. Some people would be, I think what we need to do to help lower income people with kids in school is talk about living wages and get them better pay. Why do people have to work so hard to get by? Blah, blah, blah. No, the right solution is to keep the kids in school until 6 p.m. so they can be as miserable as their parents are. Good job, Kamala Harris. Well done. Just want to give a shout out to the Democrats that are doing the right thing. That is bipartisan cooperation. This has been John Bolton, and soon we'll be going back to your Satan, lefty, ridiculous music, punk news show. Goodbye. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. We are a little late today, like I said we would be. Because I had some overnight guests. Well, my fiance had some overnight guests, but I guess by default they were mine too, because we live in the same place. So anyway, they went on their excursion. So Lucy, it's just us this weekend. It's just us. It's a bachelor weekend, Lucy. Except I don't know if that's you're a girl, so I don't know if that's appropriate, but you know what I mean. It's just us, Lucy. It's just us holding down the fort. We got some movies to watch, right? That's right. You guys are probably all like, "Wow, this is dude. His lady's going out of town, and here he is talking to the cat, saying how it's just them. This isn't sad at all." All right, welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. So everybody, the internet has been buzzing about Tulsi Gabbard on The View. She, by the way, I forgot a couple housekeeping things I need to do. First of all, yesterday, I don't know what happened with the audio there. I'm really sorry. But yeah, the audio was just, occasionally it was totally 100% fine. And then randomly we would be getting some static and some interference. I mean, I blame Russia. It was probably them. I don't know. But yeah, for whatever reason that happened, excuse me. It's I'm not at the point yet where I can have an actual producer on site. I really would love that, Lucy. Come on. She's like, I'm the producer. What are you talking about? But I'm not at the point where I can afford those things. I wish I was, and hopefully someday I will get there. But in the meantime, I'm kind of running the ship by myself the best I can. But anyway, so I'm sorry about those audio issues. What we did was we took the stream down because it was throughout the entire stream, but my editor Joe was able to salvage some of the clips and edit out the specific topic. So we still got clips from yesterday, but the full stream itself, we kind of, because I don't want someone to stumble on that stream. Maybe they're not familiar with the show and it's the first time, and they want to see, well, what's the stream like? and then they watch this stream where, you know, you hear a bunch. So sorry about that yesterday. I will be, you know, hopefully we're fine today. I feel like we should be. And, you know, it's something that I will monitor as we continue to grow. Anyway, all right. So getting to the news of the day, Tulsi Gabbard had an appearance on The View that the internet is abuzz about. So I got it here. I haven't watched it yet. So we're going to watch it together. If you haven't seen it yet, you're seeing it for the first time with me. If you have seen it already, well, I'm seeing it for the first time. But Tulsi Gabbard went on The View and defended herself, basically. I mean, that's the gist of it. She defended herself. She confronted some of the criticism she has been receiving, that she's a Russian asset, as made famous by Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton united the country, by the way, in everybody saying how ridiculous she is. Everybody, yeah, Beto O'Rourke had the right response to that. Even Kamala Harris was like, okay, Hillary, that's all right. You're accusing a veteran of being a Russian asset. You have no proof of this whatsoever. You're just saying it. All right. But anyway, here we go. Let's check this out. I'm excited to watch some of this. All right. Let me make sure the volume's up for y'all. And boom.
I want to start with something that I think is also important about facts, because recently on your show here,
I was just going to get to that.
Good. Helping you out.
You want me to ask you? Yeah.
No, look, some of you have accused me of being a.
She just kept going. Do you see that? They were like, "We'll ask you the question. We got a question," and she's like, "No, I don't want." And I don't blame her, because a lot of times when she's on shows like these, and you know, the same thing happens to Bernie Sanders. It's not, but they'll ask these baiting questions. Like maybe the question was going to be, are you a Russian asset? And she wants to tell her truth. She wants to set the record straight. I don't blame her for just barreling through. She probably planned it that way. And I think that's the right approach. Don't give them an opportunity to bait you. Don't give them an opportunity to, you know, give you this question that you're going to then have to start digging out of the hole of that question to get to say what you want to say. All right.
A traitor to my country, a Russian asset, a Trojan horse, or a useful idiot, I think was the term that you used, which basically means that I'm naive or lack intelligence to know what's going on.
They use that.
I want to let your.
All right, now it looks like Joy's a little annoyed. It looks like Joy's a little annoyed at this point. I feel, you know, I don't watch The View often. I mean, I never watch The View, really. I watch it whenever, like basically whenever we're doing a segment on it on the Jimmy Dore show, or in a situation like this where something really gets popular on the blogosphere and it's like, oh, I want to talk about it. I'll get your news on with Ron. That's the only time I ever watched The View. But the few times I've watched it, I get this vibe that Joy Behar kind of wants to do the right thing. Like she knows what the right thing to do is, and it seems like she wants to do it. I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong on that. But I get that vibe. But and I'm having a hard time whether or not that's the case here. Like part of me feels like, oh, she wants to set Tulsi Gabbard up on the tee to say her piece, to defend herself. But then part of me is like, I feel like she's annoyed by her, where she's just like, well, that's a Russian term. I can't tell if she's just trying to invoke a little bit of humor in it or if she's genuinely annoyed. It's tough to tell. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Is she genuinely annoyed, or is she just trying to invoke humor and setting Tulsi Gabbard up? I'm not sure. I mean, as we go on, I might have a decision. But as of right now, I'm like 50-50. Anyway, let's keep watching.
Your viewers know exactly who I am.
All right.
Set the record straight. I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color, and I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all.
Can I show this Rich afford a cough button, by the way? The View doesn't have, you don't have a thing where you can press your thing if you need to cough. There was a cough on the air. They couldn't. Anyway. All right. Maybe that was on purpose. I don't know.
Americans in this country. It was the attacks on 9/11.
Well,
got the crowd.
I guess we're getting a little bit far ahead of ourselves, but Franklin Graham finds you refreshing. He doesn't find me refreshing. Richard Spencer, the white nationalist leader, says he could vote for you.
Joy, this is why,
I mean, you're on
here.
Tucker Carlson at least 10 times. Why don't you go on Chris Wallace's show?
This is why I'm here, because you and other people continue to spread these innuendos that have nothing to do with who I am.
Well, Hillary
that have
Clinton
nothing to
started
do
it,
with
and then
who
you
I
shot
am.
back at her, boy. You called her the queen of warmongers.
You doubled down, unfortunately, you doubled down on the baseless accusations that she made that strikes at the core of who I am. I'm a soldier.
Okay, by the way, I'm just going to insert this now. That thing I was saying earlier where I'm not sure where Joy Behar is on this one, I'm going to go with the latter. She wasn't trying to set her up and give her an opportunity to defend herself. She was trying to have a gotcha moment. I'm pretty sure that's what Joy Behar was doing here. I think once she asked those questions, that became abundantly clear. Trying to make these points of association of these, some of these terrible people who have said kind things about Tulsi Gabbard, which, by the way, they never bring up the fact that Tulsi Gabbard has refuted that when David Duke tweeted something about Tulsi Gabbard, she did respond and said, no, thank you. She said, no, thank you. I do not want to be associated with you. They never bring up that part. But anyway, all right, so let's see what they have to say to each other here.
Because of the attacks on 9/11, I enlisted in the military to go after and defeat and destroy the evil that visited us on that day. I've served now for over 16 years, deployed twice the Middle East during the height of the war, where every single day I saw firsthand the terribly high human cost. That's why I ran for Congress.
We actually have the clip of Hillary Clinton just to put this in context of what we're talking about. Let's take a look at that.
I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of, sites and bots.
Oh my God. No evidence. No, she's just saying words. Like she's just spewing this stuff with no evidence whatsoever, this is just a baseless, and she's bringing Jill Stein into it too. We all know this. We've covered this already on the show, but it's every time you hear it, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Other ways of supporting her so far. And that's assuming Jill Stein will give it up, which she might not, because she's also a Russian asset.
A red's under your bed, Hillary.
So really? This is outrageous. This is outrageous and offensive on so many levels. I've served as a member of Congress now for almost 7 years, receiving high-level national security and intelligence briefings, serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the Armed Services Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, working to ensure the safety and security of the people of this country. This is why I'm running for president, to continue that commitment of service.
So are you surprised, though, that when people see bots and things and all the things that we've sort of been seeing heading you away?
Let's bring it back to Russia.
That
My
people
God.
have these questions, because she's not the only one. Hillary, I don't think, is the only one. So what she's saying is she feels they are grooming you. You're saying nobody's grooming me. I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm a soldier and a patriot.
It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in such a way.
But you called her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform. I'm speaking out against that. And
What's your evidence to that?
To change.
Well, can I?
Are you
What's her
serious?
evidence of that? Oh my, what? Oh my, I watched this clip for the first time live with you people. And at first, I thought Joy Behar wanted to be the good guy. I thought there was a chance that was the case. I said maybe. Thank goodness I said maybe. Because 30 seconds later, we found out that's for sure not the case. What's the evidence of that? And by the way, sometimes I have to stop these videos because of copyright issues. So don't yell at me later that I look forward to this response. She just said, what's the evidence of that? Gee, I don't know. Every vote where Hillary Clinton has been for every single war, we came, we saw, he died. How about that? What's the evidence for that? What's the evidence for that? She said that with a straight thing. She is on national television on one of the most viewed shows. What's the evidence? And they're bringing up all these red herrings, no pun intended, about Russian influence. What do they think happens? Do they think like one day Tulsi Gabbard or Jill Stein or whoever else they decide is a Russian asset is just sitting around minding their own business, doing their work, and all of a sudden from beneath the sink they hear hello, and they're like, what was that? Hello, it is me, Russian asset. Hello, come look under the sink. We want to influence you now. Like what do they think happens? It is the dumbest, it is the most McCarthyism. It is so ridiculous that, I mean, it's unbelievable this still gets lip service, but we know why it does, because it's the corporate media and they have nothing else. They have nothing else. All right, let's hear a response.
Let's hear it.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
I served in the war
Not
in
you,
Iraq.
her. You're saying that she's
exactly.
she's a
I served
warmonger. How do
in the
you come
war
up with
in
that?
Iraq
Yeah.
that she championed. She championed a regime change
Did
war
you not
in
believe
Libya.
in that war?
I believe the lies that were told to us.
Well, so did she.
So look, it is indisputable. It is indisputable to say anything other than the fact
Well, this
that Hillary, let me just close this out, that Hillary Clinton throughout her career has led with a foreign policy of interventionism and being the world's police, going and toppling dictators in other countries that has caused such destruction and loss of life. I'm against that. I'm running for president to change that. Rather than actually debate me on the issues, she and others are resorting to these smear tactic campaigns, seeking to undermine me, smear my character, and sending a message to anyone who dissents. Stand, toe the line, or you too will be smeared.
Oh my God, that was hard. I mean, that was painful to. Do you have evidence? I mean, okay, and so, oh well, Hillary Clinton believed the lies, Tulsi. So did you. That's what Joy Behar said. Like, okay, well, what has happened since then? Tulsi Gabbard has been a non-interventionist who has been against regime change wars. Hillary Clinton has not seen a war she didn't like. I mean. Oh, wow. It's like, what evidence do you have of that? What evidence do you have you're being groomed? I mean, what was Whoopi Goldberg's question about? Like, what was that even? What do you think happens? Has anybody asked that? That's the question that needs to be asked on the corporate media. That's what I wish. And I know, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard had a lot coming at her. I'm not saying like, but what I wish she would have done, I wish she would have just been like, so what do you think happened? You're saying I'm a Russian asset. I'm being groomed. What does that involve? Did somebody show up at my house? Did I take a trip to Russia? Was I maybe seen at the same table as Putin? What happened? What is the process when that happens? Please explain it to me. Please explain it. And those are the questions that need to be asked of these just McCarthy parroting talking heads. Like, what does that mean? What is it? I was groomed. What does that mean? Ask your friends. I've asked my friends before. Where they're just like, well, Russia. I was just like, well, what does that mean? What did Russia do? What did Russia do? What specifically happened? Okay, a troll farm in Russia that was meant to spam people tweeted a bunch of nonsense. Okay, yeah, that happened. All right. How did that affect our election? What did that really do? How... In the big scheme of things, how large of a role does that play? Besides barely passing the laugh test. In fact, not even passing the laugh test. Some spam was posted on Facebook and Twitter. So what does that even compare, by the way, to what we do to other elections all the time? So what is that mean? Will that influence people? How did it influence that? I had somebody who I consider an intelligent person with a straight face. And I'm like, you want to tell me that a handful of Facebook memes that were seen by about 300 people in most cases, they were seen by 300 people or less in most cases, that were in broken English most of the time. You want to tell me that took down a $2 billion campaign. And that person with a straight face said yes. They said, yeah, I do. I said, why do you think? They're like, well, I just know how influential social media is. And I said, you're insane. You have been watching MSNBC way too much. You have been watching all of this nonsense way too much. You can't believe that Donald Trump won. Although a lot of us knew it was going to happen. A lot of us said, holy shit, Trump's going to win. We are going to have Donald Trump as president, which is horrifying beyond comprehension, and it's been an utter disaster, and that's putting it gently. A lot of us saw it coming, but a lot didn't, and it disconnected all of their critical thinking skills. It just disconnected their critical thinking skills to where they needed a scapegoat, and that scapegoat for 3 years and counting has been Russia, and it's not going to stop. It is not going to stop. I thought it'd be over by now. I'm sure you did too. It's not, and it's not going to end. It will go through the election. It will continue if Trump is reelected. And if Trump's reelected, I mean, what do you do at this point? Because if Trump is reelected, there is truly no opposition. There just isn't. If they cheat Bernie again and Trump gets reelected, which is, if they cheat Bernie again, Trump's going to get reelected. Wow. And this is considered a valid news program. This is considered a valid news program, what we just watched, where they just asked. They play that clip from Hillary Clinton like that's fine. Why didn't they ask, what evidence do you have of that? Why didn't Joy Behar say, hey, what evidence does she have of that? What evidence does she have that Jill Stein and Tulsi Gabbard are Russian? None whatsoever. None. It's just a soundbite. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then they try to make it out like, oh, Hillary just made a misstep on Iraq. That's just, oh, she just made a misstep just like everyone else did. They believed the lies. She hasn't been for every other single war, too. Hillary Clinton's never seen a war she didn't like. She's proud of it. She brags about it. She brags about Libya. She laughs about it. She giggles about it. Never hasn't cheered on intervention in Syria or anywhere else. Never has a thing to say about Afghanistan. And they're saying, where's the evidence of that? Are you kidding, Joy? Where's the evidence of Hillary Clinton being pro-war? That's a statement a supposed journalist made on national television with a straight face. With a straight face. But the concerns about Tulsi Gabbard being a Russian asset or Jill Stein being a Russian asset, those are real concerns. Those are valid. I mean, this is beyond a parody of itself at this point. Hillary Clinton being a warmonger, what evidence do you have of that? Jill Stein, Tulsi Gabbard being a Russian asset, those are valid concerns. I mean, that is comically terrible. And I only hope that someday when the history books are written, we look back on this as exactly what it is, which is neo-McCarthyism. And we kind of realize what this actually was. But I mean, a lot of people don't even realize what happened the first time. A lot of people don't even realize it was largely McCarthyism that crushed the Communist Party movement in this country, that crushed a lot of the labor unions, that crushed a lot of the social movements. It was McCarthyism that really played a role in squashing all that. Because, hey, if you disagree with the status quo, if you disagree with capitalism, you're a red, baby. That's what happened in the 30s. It happened again in the 60s. It's happening again now. So this is history repeating itself. And a lot of people didn't learn those lessons then. So this is just another chapter of all that. And, you know, the United States read 1984 by George Orwell and considered it a blueprint. They considered it a how-to guide. We need a Eurasia. We always have to be at war with somebody. We always have to have some enemy. We need a Eurasia. Oh, ours is Russia. Perfect. Wow. I mean, I'm glad Tulsi got to defend herself, but man, that was painful to watch. That was very painful to watch. And you should never, God. And I'm not sitting here saying Tulsi Gabbard's perfect. She's not. There's some things I disagree with her on. But when you find yourself rooting for the politician over the journalist, something is tragically wrong. But that's our media. More often than not. I mean, whenever Bernie's on camera, you should be rooting for the journalist to hold Bernie Sanders accountable for the things he should be held accountable for the things where he's not as strong on. Same with Tulsi Gabbard. You should be counting on them. I wish they would have asked her, hey, why aren't you for a jobs guarantee? Let's talk about it. Ask some real questions. Have some valid criticisms. Not, oh, well, it's a concern that you're a Russian asset. And Hillary Clinton, you hurt Hillary Clinton's feelings. That was Joy Behar's agenda in that entire clip, which I actually thought she might have had good intentions at first. Boy, 40 seconds was all it took for that to be proven wrong. But that was her entire agenda in that clip. Let's stand up for Hillary Clinton. You called Hillary Clinton this. You said this about Hillary Clinton. You said all these painfully accurate things about Hillary Clinton. And why? Because Hillary Clinton just made a bogus, hateful smear based in nothing. And then you're going to shame Tulsi Gabbard for defending herself? And Tulsi Gabbard didn't like everything she said about Hillary Clinton. 100% true, 100% provable. Hillary Clinton, what Hillary Clinton said about her, 0%. 0% provable, 0% true. Unbelievable. Unreal. All right. Well, I'm glad we watched that. I'm awake now, huh? How are you guys feeling? Right? Guys, you know, since we're defending the marginalized like Hillary Clinton, you know, we really should look to another group that really has it tough, that we really have to look out for, that we really have to empathize with. The billionaires. The billionaires, baby. What's up with the billionaires? Well, Bill Gates had some things to say. Here's what Bill Gates had to say. He's worried about the wealth tax. Bill Gates. And here, we really have to empathize here. Mega billionaire Bill Gates doesn't want to pay Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax. It's Elizabeth Warren's now, by the way. It's Elizabeth. Because again, in circles like Mark Zuckerberg circles and Bill Gates circles, Bernie Sanders is not a viable threat to them. Because they do not think Bernie Sanders will get out of the primary. Why? Because they're in the donor class. They're in the ruling class. The class that is trying to stop Bernie Sanders with everything they've got. So to them, the only proposed quote-unquote threat is Elizabeth Warren. Because she parrots some of Bernie's ideas. She won't actually implement them, but she parrots them. So that's why they single Elizabeth Warren out here. Because in Bill Gates' bubble, Bernie Sanders, they're keeping Bernie away, baby. That's what Bill Gates is counting on. That's what Mark Zuckerberg's counting on. And that should tell you something. When they don't even view the opposition as the opposition because they know that their donors are going to do everything they can. That tells you something. And that tells you that Elizabeth Warren is make-believe opposition because she is. All right. Now, the Microsoft co-founder also refused to say if he would vote for the senator over Donald Trump. Oh, well, gee, how is Bill Gates voting? Please let me know so I can sleep easy at night. That's actually what I think about most of the time. Before I go to bed, I'm like, I wonder, how is Bill Gates going to vote? That's on the top 5 things I give a shit about. How is Bill Gates going to vote? How is that? All right, so let's go into this. Microsoft founder Bill Gates has joined the chorus. All right, so here's what he had to say. I'm not sure how open-minded she is about, said Bill Gates said this about Elizabeth Warren. Okay, well, hey, she was a Republican until 47. Then she changed. And then I feel like you can at least say the woman's open-minded, you know. Warren's signature plan calls for a 2% wealth tax on fortunes longer than $50 million and a 3% tax on every dollar of net worth over $1 billion. Man, that's hard. That's hard. So here's what Bill Gates had to say to this. I've paid over $10 billion in taxes. I paid more than anyone in taxes. If I had to pay $20 billion, it's fine. But when you say I should pay $100 billion, then I'm starting to do a little math about what I have left over. Which, by the way, they're not asking him to pay $100 billion in taxes. That's pretty much his net worth, as the article goes around. This is around his entire net worth, $100 billion. They're not asking him to pay his entire net worth in taxes. That's not what they're doing. In fact, Elizabeth Warren tweeted him, I'm always happy to meet with people, even if we have different views, Bill Gates. If we get a chance, I'd love to explain exactly how much you'd pay under my wealth tax. I promise it's not $100 billion. It's not $100 billion, just like Bernie's idea, the wealth tax with Bernie's idea, where it's 70%. That's after a certain point. That's after a point where the person has more money than they could ever need in many lifetimes. They will never want. Their family will never want. Nobody will ever want for generations in their lives. And then it's at the 70% level. And we're supposed to feel empathy. There are people, because of the media, that feel empathy for the billionaires, that are worried the billionaires are going to be taxed too much. How is that even? First of all, what we should be worried about is the fact that there are billionaires. There's no reason for it. In fact, this is something else in the article. I want to get to this. This is something else they say in the article. And I don't know if this is okay. So Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, said Warren vilifies successful people and said we should instead applaud successful people. Okay. By successful people, this is code for billionaires here. Nobody's demonizing successful people. That's not what's happening here. And by the way, that thing that he's probably referring to is when Elizabeth Warren did a really nice speech to a Wells Fargo executive and then didn't prosecute anybody. That's probably what they're referring to. But nobody's vilifying successful people. What we are doing is recognizing the truth that nobody gets $1 billion ethically. I'll say it again. Nobody gets $1 billion ethically. I mean, unless you were just born into it, and if you were, you're probably going to go on to do pretty unethical things. Let's be real. But if you're born into it, well, that's one thing. You can't control, who birthed you. But nobody earns $1 billion ethically. It doesn't happen. You screw people over left and right to get to the top. That's what Bill Gates did. That's what Jeff Bezos did. That's what Zuckerberg does. They all screw people over hard to get to the top. Because if you behave in a proper manner, if you behave in, hey, I got mine, you're going to get yours because you helped get me there. If you treat your employees right, if you treat the people who helped you build your wealth right, you're not going to have $1 billion. You're going to have less than that. Can you still be rich? Sure. You can still be very successful. There are tons of people who are very successful who will never want. And hey, I mean, I'm in show business. I can tell you there's tons of people who, spent I know a guy, I pet sat for him at one point. He spent his last dime hitchhiking to get to Los Angeles from Canada, where he's from. He had a cardboard sign, hitchhiking to get down here. He got to Los Angeles. He became a successful music video producer. He's a millionaire now. He's produced some of the top music videos. He's won awards. He used his last dime to hitchhike down here. No one's demonizing that guy. We're asking that guy to pay his fair share in taxes. Sure. No one's demonizing him. No one's saying, if you're successful, that's fine. No one's demonizing successful people. That is such a lazy straw man. We are recognizing if you have $1 billion, you didn't get it ethically. That example I just gave, that guy's not a billionaire. He's far from it. He's very wealthy. And I hope he pays his fair share as his tax. He's actually, he's a Bernie supporter, so I hope that he, pays his fair share in taxes, and I'd imagine he does. But no one gets $1 billion ethically. That's what we're recognizing. And there's no reason for, there's no reason. There's no reason for it. Why does anyone need that amount of wealth? Why aren't there more protections so that something like this can't happen? If we actually had more protections for workers, if we had policies that favor everybody, the working class, not just the 1%, we wouldn't have billionaires. It wouldn't happen. It's because of the predatory nature of our system and the lack of accountability in our system, where we have pretty much given our politics away to corporations and special interests and the ruling class. It's because of that we have billionaires in the first place. That's why. But Bill Gates, don't tax Bill Gates too much. And he's saying he'll pay $20 billion. That's fine. That's what 100. Come on. And no one's asking him to pay $100 billion. No one. Lewis Black put it best. The comedian Lewis Black, who I'm a fan of. Lewis Black put it best. They had Lewis Black on, I think it was CNN. It's not important which network it was. This was years ago. And they asked him why, because he's one of the first people. A lot of people don't realize this. And Lewis Black certainly doesn't need a plug from me because he's fine. But Lewis Black was one of the first people that was just straight up out in the open in Hollywood going, yeah, I'm a socialist. He was one of the first people, because they were like, well, you're really critical of the Republicans, but you're not a big fan of a lot of the Democrats either. You weren't a big fan of Clinton. So where are you? And he's like, dude, I'm to the left of all that. I'm a socialist. I'm not represented on the ballot. My views are not really on the ballot. He was one of the first people in Hollywood to straight up say that, to not take the more neoliberal route. He was the first one, to my knowledge. And I mean, when I say first one, I mean in the contemporary sense. I don't mean over the course of history. There actually used to be a ton of socialists and communists that were involved in fringe theater groups and stuff like that in New York and probably here in Los Angeles too. but I mean like in the contemporary sense, because Lewis Black was saying stuff like that in 2004. That's what I mean. But anyway, he said it. They asked him. They were like, well, "Why are you a lefty? You know, right? Like, why are you still a lefty? You're successful. Why are you a lefty? You know, which is a question that they'll ask in the court. They're basically saying, why would you look out for anybody except for yourself? Why would you do that? Why would you think this world's bigger than you? Why would you do that? Why would you? And first of all, it does actually affect more than you. And there are a lot of reasons to be a progressive, even if you're rich. There are plenty of reasons, if you're rich, to still be a progressive person, even if you have to pay a little more in taxes. It creates a better society that you participate in. It creates better schools for your children and your neighbors. And it creates better, it creates a better economy for everybody involved, where people are spending more and doing more. It creates a better world for everyone. And even if you're rich, you can partake in that. But anyway, so they basically asked him, hey, you're rich. Why are you still a lefty? And he said, he was like, look, here's the deal. I was broke until I was 40 years old. So I know what it's like. I was broke until I was 40. You know, I struggled in show business for a long time before I got successful. And then he said, now I'm rich. I'm rich now. And he's like, and if you guys tax me a little more to help out other people, you know what would happen at the end of the day? And the reporter said, what? And he said, I'd still be rich. Bill Gates, if there's a wealth tax and you get taxed a little bit more on an amount that is higher than you would ever need, than your family would ever need, you're still going to be rich. You're still going to be rich. And this isn't going to infringe on your ability to do charity, Bill Gates, either, because all those charitable things are tax exempt. You know this. You know this. So don't be like, well, when they have billions, they can give some of it back, which most of them don't, by the way. So, Bill, take a lesson from Lewis Black at this point. Because, yeah, you're getting it wrong here, Bill Gates. Yeah, and I'm sure you watched this show, so you heard everything I said. All right, so we got something pretty sad here. This is something sad. And this is kind of local to California. We actually have two local to California stories here. This is from TMZ, so we got some more hard-hitting journalism here. TMZ. Occasionally, TMZ breaks stories before anyone else. It's like all right, but anyway, so a Superman impersonator was found dead, and this guy's been doing it for a long time. I've seen this guy before. He's been around Hollywood. He's on Hollywood. He was on Hollywood Boulevard. I've seen this guy a bunch of times. And he was found dead today. Or wait, it might have been yesterday. Christopher Dennis, a street performer known for portraying Superman on Hollywood Boulevard for more than 25 years, has died. Law enforcement sources tell us Dennis was found dead Saturday in the San Fernando Valley. His body was discovered lying headfirst in a bin that's used for clothing donations. So there he is on Hollywood Boulevard. Investigators believe Christopher, who was homeless, was attempting to gather clothes for himself. Our sources say no foul play is suspected. Dennis's story is both charming and tragic. After 2 decades of entertaining folks in Hollywood by impersonating the Man of Steel, he was the victim of a vicious assault and robbery that nearly killed him and left him without a way to make money. So he was probably self-employed. He was, like, I'd imagine, he was a Superman impersonator. He was probably a contractor, self-employed or whatever. So he may not have had the best health insurance. He may not have had health insurance at all. So when he was assaulted, he probably had to fork his own medical bills, and it probably pretty much bankrupted him and left him homeless. Because that's the American way, right? That's the American way. He was rendered homeless. This is getting back to the article, but thanks to the help of friends and a Kickstarter campaign, he got a new suit that allowed him to get back on his feet, and he returned to the boulevard for the Superman fans. He also starred in the documentary Confessions of a Superhero and appeared multiple times on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Sadly, it seems he fell on hard times again recently. He was 52 years old. So 25 years, this guy impersonated Superman. He was a street performer. And he was homeless. Man, it's such a brutally poetic brutally poetic truth that this man was in a clothing bin looking for clothing for himself, and he was homeless. And he was dressed up as Superman, the guy who's supposed to embody the American way. But Superman wasn't real, but this guy was real. This was real. So maybe this is the real American way. Maybe this is the real American way. That's a real American story, actually. A guy's a street performer doing his thing, making an honest living as a street performer, gets assaulted, gets robbed, which could happen to anybody. In fact, you're way more susceptible to that in that line of work because you're on the street a lot. And another thing is that, you know, people who are looking to rob somebody, they know that a street performer presumably has a lot of cash on them because that's how they work. I mean, they get paid mostly in cash. You know, you take a picture with them, they do a pose, whatever, they give you a few bucks. So they know that this person has cash. That person in the Superman costume, they probably have cash. And they probably were following him and they saw a right time where there weren't a lot of people around. It could happen to anybody. It could happen to you. It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody, especially in that line of work. And then he was homeless and was still homeless. It's very sad. Very, very sad. Rest in power. Rest in power, Chris. Christopher Dennis is his full name. Yeah, and I remember seeing that guy around. I would see him around. And he really did. He looked a lot like Superman. I mean, you can tell in the picture, like he looks a lot like Superman. Oh, wait, here, let me show. I was showing it to myself and not to you guys. I was like, yeah, look, he looks a lot like Superman. Sad story for the street performing community in LA. Which, by the way, I've done some of that before myself. I was a mascot once. It's not easy work, by the way. It is very, and people can be very mean. Like, I mean, and I'm sure we all know this. It's not like I'm saying anything, but I was very young when I did it. I was like just out of college, and I was a mascot part-time. And there were people who, I mean, one guy rolled down his window because I would do like I was like a sign pointer, and like one guy rolled down his window and he like got my attention, like he motioned for me, and like I kind of leaned in, you know, I didn't go like close to his car or whatever because I didn't know what his deal was, but I kind of leaned in, and he just goes, "You must have been really desperate for a job, huh?" And I just kind of look, and I wasn't really supposed to talk to people, so I just kind of smiled and, you know, shook and went away and just went, you know. But I'm like, you went out of your way, you slowed your vehicle down, you rolled down your window. I mean, I thought maybe he was gonna say something nice, and some people did do nice things. There were some people that like, you know, they always drove past, they would like honk and they would wave and they would smile. One of the things that I would use my sign to play air guitar. So there would be people, they would drive by and they'd be like, do the air guitar. And I would always be playing music. So I'd be rocking out. But yeah. And so there were some nice people too, but man, like he like went out of his way to just shit on a stranger. Like, what's wrong with you when you go out of your way to shit on a stranger? Like, who does it? Like, it's like people do it. I mean, but it's like, man, there's something wrong with the way you were raised. Like something seriously wrong if you go out of your way to just make somebody feel bad about themselves. Anyway, so let's go to this. So Long Beach shares this. This is a feel-good story, and this is a fun way to end the week. This will be our last story for the day. This is straight from Long Beach. So Long Beach shared this, and it's coming straight from Long Beach. Now, you know, some of the big music from the LBC was Sublime, and then I think No Doubt was from around there as well. And if you kind of grew up in the 90s like I did, those were behemoth bands. You know, No Doubt, of course, lasted longer because Bradley Noel, the singer from Sublime, he died in 1996. I think Sublime is still active, and they have a new singer, this guy Rome, so they call it Sublime with Rome. And I actually got to do comedy for Rome before. Fun fact. I don't know if he thought I was funny or not, but I did perform for him. Anyway, so check this out. No Doubt's Adrian Young and Sublime's Todd Foreman want to hear your song. Adrian Young, the longtime No Doubt drummer, and Todd Foreman, who played saxophone with Sublime from 1990 through Brad Noel's death 6 years later, want to hear your song. So the Long Beach-based musicians turned producers officially launched Moxie Brothers, a full-service music production company that includes engineering, songwriting, and performance. To get everyone excited about the new venture, they launched a competition. So you can send your song in an MP3 format, along with your Instagram handle and hometown, to the Moxie Brothers at gmail.com. You can do that today through November 19th. And from all the entries, Young and Foreman will choose the tune with the best combination of song, story, and vibe. And what do you win? You win the full Moxie Brothers treatment. They'll assist in the aspects of music production, including composition, arrangement, and recording, to bring the winning composition to its full potential. So basically, they'll produce your stuff. That's what you win. They'll produce your stuff. That's pretty cool. I think it's cool they're forming a music production company. I'm not a big competition guy. I will say that. I'm not, and this is, I've never been a big fan of comedy competitions. I've actually, tried not to participate in most of them, and I've participated in very few in my life. There's something about it. I just don't, I hate to sound like art can't be judged, man. But that's kind of true in a lot of ways. How do you judge a music competition? There's so many different genres of music. There's so many different takes on music. There's so many different things that appeal to different types of people. Music that I love, a lot of people I know can't stand it. Music that I can't stand, people love. How do you judge? I guess if you're familiar with No Doubt and Sublime, you're probably thinking they're probably looking for something in that vein. They're probably looking for like a dubstep thing, or a new wave ska, or something pop punky. You're probably thinking maybe we should kind of migrate to that sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe not. But anyway, I don't know. That's how I feel. And I've only done I've only done 2 comedy competitions ever. So this idea, by the way, that you have to do competitions, you really don't. You do not. I think I've done 2. Yeah, I've done 2, because the one festival I did, it wasn't a competition. It was just a festival. I did one festival that was a competition, and one festival that was also a competition. The one festival I did, it did nothing for me. I was way too new. It was like one of those festivals where they wanted a bunch of established people, but they also wanted some very new people. And at the time, I was a new person. So that was that. And the other time I did get a record deal. So I guess sometimes competitions, but that guy, but the label that I started working with, that guy, he wasn't caring about the competition. He was just watching the comics. A couple of us ended up joining his label, and neither one of us won that competition. So I guess, sometimes whatever. But I'm not a big competition person. I don't see the point. But anyway, it's neat. They're starting a music company. All power to them. And, I like No Doubt. I like Sublime. I'm more of a Sublime guy than a No Doubt guy, I think. I don't really listen to either regularly. It's just something I grew up with. It's something we all grew up with. But cool. Good for them. All right. Ray Foley, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Ray says, reach out to Robert Emmons, Ron. He's running against Bobby Rush in the congressional primary. I had him and Byron Lopez at Thalia Hall for Jimmy in Chicago. Cool. I'd love to have him on the show. I'll try to get in touch with him, or, feel free to tell him to get in touch with me. I like it when, a lot of times when I have guests on, it's because candidates reach out, and but sometimes I do reach out to them, but a lot of times they reach out to me, which is cool. It helps me keep track of stuff easier, because there's a lot of candidates out there. There's a lot of grassroots candidates, a lot of progressives trying to interrupt the machine, and I try to help as many of them as I possibly can. And I know this show, The show isn't a huge bump, but it does help some people out, and that's awesome. And I try to do that as much as I possibly can. So please tell him to get in touch with me. All right, guys, we have reached the conclusion of another week. Thank you for being here on the late start. I actually like starting a little later. I mean, I did this today because I had to, but maybe, I don't know, I feel a little bit more awake. Maybe we should start a little bit later from now on. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'll do a poll on Twitter because I've thought about maybe changing the start time starting in 2020, starting in 2020. So I'll do a poll on Twitter, and I'll ask a thing on Patreon as well. Maybe we should push the start time back a little bit. And some of you guys are agreeing with me. Later is nice. Later is nice. Ron, what are your thoughts on Newsom? I'm not a very big fan. Now, I will say this. Some of the stuff Newsom has been on board with, I was pleasantly surprised by. The fact that he, now I'm drawing a blank. Oh, the public banking thing. The fact that he signed that thing into law to allow the states to do public banking was very big. And Newsom did sign on board with that. The fact that he's been relatively solid on net neutrality so far, that's good. So there's been a couple things that Newsom's been on board with where I've been like, I'm glad he's on board with that. But the plastic ban, he was not on board with, which was a big problem. The fact that he's so adamantly against ranked choice voting is a big problem. And the fact that he's pretty much a corporatist. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Gavin Newsom. It could be worse. It certainly could be worse. But I'm not the biggest fan of Gavin Newsom. When he signs things that are good, I'm happy about it. But there's a lot of good things that he's also turned against. So, anyway. So, guys, thank you for another amazing week. Australia, we are coming. Get your tickets. Do not wait. We are coming. Get your tickets. Next week, we're coming. Melbourne, November 14th. If you want to come to the show in Melbourne, get your tickets now because we're almost sold out. We are almost sold out in Melbourne. I saw the numbers this morning. We are almost sold out in Melbourne. So, guys, get your tickets now for Melbourne. That's November 14th, Melbourne, Australia. November 15th, we're going to be in Adelaide. November 17th, Sydney. And November 22nd, Perth. Get your tickets now at ronplacone.com. Southern California, we're coming at you to work out our show. We're getting ready for the 2020 tour dates, Graham Owen and myself, and we're workshopping right in our own backyard. December 13th, Ventura Harbor Comedy Club. December 14th, the Dojo Comedy Sycamore Tavern right here in Los Angeles. Tickets are available at ronplacone.com. And 2020 dates, all those tickets are available now too, and we're confirming more dates as we speak. But here's what's confirmed so far. February 8th, Tucson. February 29th, San Francisco. March 12th, Orlando. March 14th, Miami. And we should be doing March 13th in Tampa. Tickets for that should be available soon. April 10th, I will be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's just me. That's a solo show. But Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, April 10th. April 24th, Seattle, Washington. April 25th, Portland, Oregon. And hold tight, Cincinnati. Hold tight, Cleveland. Hold tight, Detroit. Hold tight, Albuquerque. Hold tight, East Coast. We're coming back to the East Coast. New York, Boston, we're coming. Don't worry. Hold tight, Minneapolis. We're coming back. Hold tight, Colorado. We're going to be touring a lot. ronplacone.com for all the tickets available so far. Guys, if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/ronplacone. For Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album for download. You get full stand-up clips. You get a patrons-only stream once a week where I respond directly to the patrons. You send me your suggestions. You send me everything, and I respond directly to the patrons only. That's a patrons-only stream once a week. Patreon.com/ronplacone. You get all that for a Give What You Can level. And you keep Lucy embedded in treats. Right? Meow, meow. Say bye for the week, Lucy. You guys know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.